picture this. You've just finished doing the math on a proposal for a new client.
Right, we've all been there.
Yeah, or maybe you are drafting this email outlining your rates for a major project. And you know exactly what your time is worth.
Oh, absolutely.
You know your results sit at the very top of your field, right? The number on that screen is completely objectively justified. But right before your finger hits send, you flinch.
You backspace.
Exactly. You backspace, you add a little qualifier in there, maybe a phrase like, we can discuss the budget, or you just outright shave 10% off the top.
Which is wild when you think about it.
It is. You shrink back at the exact moment of truth. So, okay, let's unpack this. Today's deep dive is about why we do that, and more importantly, how to stop.
It's honestly one of the most frustrating behavioral loops a driven professional can fall into. You possess all the hard data to back up your value, yet you systematically move against your own best interests.
Yeah, and we are unpacking a really fascinating Substack article today by Maria Fuentes of Hypnotica Mente Ltd.
It's a great piece.
It really is. Our mission today is to explore this highly expensive space, this massive gap between knowing your value intellectually and actually, doing what it takes to claim it in reality.
Which is harder than it sounds.
Way harder. But the source material makes a crucial distinction right away, which frames this perfectly. When you hesitate and discount your own proposal, it is not a gap in your intelligence.
Right. No, you understand the math perfectly well.
Exactly. What you are experiencing is a gap in identity.
And that's so key, because the assumption in the professional world is that if you are highly capable, claiming your worth should just be effortless.
Like it just comes with the territory.
Right. People look at a top performer and think confidence must just be baked into their DNA.
Yeah.
But the reality is quite the opposite. For a lot of high achievers, executing the work is the easy part.
Yeah.
Stating what that work costs without apologizing for it is where the internal architecture completely collapses.
It's so true. And to illustrate just how devastating that collapse can be, we aren't starting with a modern corporate anecdote. We are going straight to the ultimate extreme historical example.
Oh, this is a heavy one.
It is. We are talking about Nikola Tesla. If you want a case study of a mind that could comprehend the mechanics of the entire physical universe, but couldn't comprehend its own value, this is it.
The tragedy of room 3327. I mean, Tesla is the absolute archetype of visible, undeniable capability.
Oh, for sure.
We are talking about an inventor who secured over 300 patents worldwide.
300?
Yeah, every time you plug an appliance into a wall socket today, the electricity flows because of the alternating current system he championed and perfected.
Right, he was operating on a level that most of his contemporaries couldn't even fathom. In 1899, he was already laying the groundwork for wireless energy transmission.
Ahead of his time doesn't even cover it.
No, it doesn't. He was developing radio technology so early that the U.S. Supreme Court ultimately ruled his patents predated Guglielmo Marconi's. Tesla understood the mechanic of the world with absolute crystalline precision.
Yet you contrast that staggering intellect with the reality of his final days. On January 7th, 1943, Nikola Tesla died alone in room 3327 of the New Yorker Hotel.
Yeah.
He was essentially penniless, owing roughly $2,000 in unpaid rent to the hotel.
And the mechanism that put him in that room, in that financial state, that is the core of our deep dive today.
Exactly.
Because years before that tragic end, Tesla held incredibly lucrative royalty rights with George Westinghouse for his alternating current patents.
Right, and those royalties were said to make Tesla one of the wealthiest men on the planet.
But Westinghouse came to him and claimed the company was, drowning in debt and couldn't survive paying the agreed-upon rates.
And Tesla's response in that moment is just defining. He didn't renegotiate the terms.
Yeah.
He didn't offer a temporary deferment. He literally tore up the contract. He voided his own royalties entirely.
It's like Tesla had built a bank vault with the most advanced, unbreakable locks in human history, but completely forgot to put a door on it.
That is a great way to put it.
The value inside was immense, but anyone could just walk in and ask for it, and he would let them take it.
What's fascinating here is how history loves to romanticize that missing door. We look at Tesla tearing up that contract and frame it as this grand, noble act of altruism.
Oh, yeah, the pure visionary sacrificing wealth for humanity.
Exactly, for technological progress.
Yeah.
But the source text pushes back on that narrative aggressively. This is not a story about generosity.
No, it's not.
It is a cautionary tale about what happens when a creator's internal sense of what they deserve fails to keep pace with the external reality of what they have built. He believed in the science, but he lacked the fundamental identity of someone who deserved to capture the value of that science.
And the bitterest irony of all is that vindication did come. We mentioned the Supreme Court affirming his radio patents over Marconi's. That ruling was handed down in June 1943. Yeah, exactly 5 months after Tesla died in that hotel room. The world eventually agreed with his math, but his willingness to stand on it while he was alive was completely absent.
It's just so easy to look at an eccentric genius from the 1940s and assume he just had blind spots that don't apply to us,
Right.
But what happens when we look at someone whose entire job is supposed to be calculating value today? The exact same psychological flinch is happening in modern inboxes, just on a different scale.
Yeah, we were all doing it.
The author introduces a contemporary case study, a man she calls Richard.
Let's look at Richard, because the scenario is uncomfortably relatable. So Richard is a highly capable partner in a professional services firm. By every external metric, the guy is a massive success.
Oh, top of his game.
Right. Clients seek him out by name because the specialized work he does is incredibly difficult to find. He has total market leverage.
And he runs the analysis, he looks at the deliverables, and he calculates a proposal. He knows, objectively, that his engagement is worth the fee he has set.
The data supports the price.
The data absolutely supports the price.
So he types up the email to the client. But before the client has even read it, before any negotiation has actually started, Richard tacks a fatal sentence onto the bottom of the pitch. He writes, quote, "And of course there is room to talk on the number."
Unbelievable.
And he even tells the author, "No client has ever told me the fee was too high. I take it down before they can."
That instinct to take it down before the client can object, that is the Tesla reflex, just scaled down to a consulting fee instead of a global energy royalty.
Yeah.
Both men are conceding immense value from a position of objective strength.
But wait, let me push back on this for a second on behalf of anyone listening who is, thinking about their own business relationships.
Sure.
If I'm Richard, I might be playing the long game. Like a slight concession now, a show of flexibility keeps the client warm. It practically guarantees the contract gets signed.
Yeah.
Isn't leaving a little something on the table just a smart, competitive strategy in a crowded market?
See, that is the exact defense mechanism the brain uses to justify a flinch. Oh yeah, it masks a retreat in the language of strategy. But the source text draws a very sharp line here. A genuine strategy involves making a conscious, calculated decision to invest in a client.
Okay.
Like, say, offering a clear discount in exchange for a multi-year retainer or a specific concession on their end.
Which makes sense.
Right, but Richard wasn't doing that. Richard wasn't negotiating with his clients at all. He was negotiating with himself.
And losing against an objection nobody actually raised.
Precisely. He is shadowboxing a phantom. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the true cost of that behavior isn't just the lost financial margin, although over a decade of proposals, that lost capital is staggering.
I can't even imagine.
The deeper cost is the compounding damage to Richard's internal sense of authority. Every time he reduces his fee preemptively, he is quietly updating his own internal software about what his work is allowed to be worth.
Oh, wow.
He is paying a very real financial tax just to make the discomfort of claiming his value go away.
A comfort tax. That is a brutal way to look at it, but it just hits the nail on the head. And this brings us to a massive question. Richard is a smart guy. He's a partner who knows his numbers.
Yeah, very smart.
So why does he systematically move against his own best interests? Like, to figure that out, we have to move past behavioral psychology and get into hard neuroscience.
We really do. We have to look at how the human brain calculates risk.
Let's do it.
The text leans heavily into the foundational work of Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky.
Oh, legends.
Absolute legends.
Yeah.
Specifically, their 1979 paper in Econometrica on prospect theory. Their central finding fundamentally reshaped our understanding of decision-making, which is that humans do not weigh gains and losses equally.
Right, the classic example is a coin flip.
Yep.
If I offer you a gamble where tails loses you $100 and heads wins you $100, most people refuse the bet.
No.
To get someone to accept that 50-50 risk, the potential gain usually has to be double the potential loss.
Exactly.
Because a loss is felt far more intensely than a gain of the exact same size.
So apply that cognitive asymmetry to Richard staring at his email draft. He faces two potential outcomes. Outcome A is the gain. He sends the email without the discount, the client accepts, and he gets paid his full worth.
S-case scenario.
Right. Outcome B is the loss. The client bristles at the price, they feel insulted, the relationship cools, and the deal falls through. Because of loss aversion, outcome B doesn't just sit level with outcome A on the scales. It looms massive.
It's all he can see.
Exactly. The brain is doing its own subconscious arithmetic, and it decides to close down the larger perceived threat. That discount line isn't Richard being consciously weak. It is his nervous system neutralizing a potential loss that it has weighted far heavier than the money he is giving up.
And we don't just have to guess that this is happening, right? The text points to a landmark 2007 study published in the journal Science by Sabrina Tom, Craig Fox, Christopher Trappell, and Russell Poldrack.
Yes, incredible study.
They took prospect theory and proved it biologically using fMRI scanners to watch the human brain make these exact types of gambles in real time.
They were looking specifically at the ventral striatum.
Okay, clarify the ventral striatum for us.
The ventral striatum acts as the brain's accounting department. But instead of dollars, it trades in dopamine, the chemical of anticipation and reward.
Okay, got it.
When they put subjects in the fMRI and presented them with potential gains, blood flow and activity in the ventral striatum rose. But when they presented them with potential losses, activity in that region didn't just dip, it dropped off a cliff.
Wow.
The decrease in neural activity for a loss was significantly steeper than the increase for an equivalent gain.
So it is a literal chemical drought in the brain's reward center.
Yes.
The asymmetry Kahneman measured in behavior is physically visible in the hardware of our minds. We are biologically wired to be hyper-responsive to what we might lose.
We really are.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The author uses an analogy here that captures this perfectly. She says that telling someone like Richard to just be more confident or charge your worth at the point of sale is like telling someone to just breathe more calmly while a smoke alarm is blaring in their ear.
That's brilliant.
Right. The instruction to breathe isn't the issue. You can't outbreathe a siren.
This raises an important question. How does this apply to an email? Because our neurological threat detection systems haven't evolved past the Pleistocene era.
True.
To your brain, a fee conversation isn't an abstract mathematical gamble in a sterile vacuum. It is a moment of profound social exposure.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
When Richard prepares to ask for his full fee, his amygdala isn't calculating a business transaction. It is calculating the risk of social rejection. And for early humans, being rejected by the group meant exile, which meant literal death.
Okay, I hear the neuroscience, but again, I have to play devil's advocate here.
Bring it on.
I still struggle with applying this cleanly to the modern business world. If I send an email with absolutely no discount and the client actually does walk away because the price was too high, my ventral striatum wasn't wrong.
Sure.
I did lose the client. That is a real loss, not a Pleistocene phantom. So how is ignoring that risk not just reckless business advice masquerading as psychology?
That's a fair question, but it's because you are miscalculating the actual probability of that loss occurring, especially if you are a high performer.
Okay, explain that.
The key demographic the author is addressing are people who already possess top-tier skills and objective market value. For this specific group, the threat of the client walking away is vastly overstated by the nervous system.
Ah, I see.
The brain treats a 5% chance of rejection as a 95% certainty. The discount line is deployed to soften a blow that the brain has hallucinated is already falling. The threat is phantom, not because clients never say no, but because the intense biological panic you feel is entirely disproportionate to the actual business risk.
Right, it's out of sync with reality. So what does this all mean? If the standard advice of, just know your worth is aimed at the wrong level, if it's just putting a Band-Aid on a blaring neural smoke alarm, how do we actually fix the wiring? How do you turn the alarm off?
We look at how Richard resolved his issue. Because he didn't need to take another course on market analysis or pricing strategy.
No, he knew the numbers.
Exactly. He needed to target the reflex at its source. He had to prove to his own nervous system that the threat was a hallucination.
And the author describes his turning point, and it wasn't some grand cinematic epiphany. It was incredibly mundane and highly uncomfortable.
The best growth usually is.
Yeah, so Richard drafted a proposal, and he physically forced himself to leave the discount line out. He stated the number, full stop.
He submitted himself to the hardest part of the process, the silence.
Yes.
He sat with the intense physical discomfort of that number standing alone in the inbox. His ventral striatum was entirely deprived of dopamine. The smoke alarm was deafening.
And the result? The client took a full day to reply. When they finally did, they accepted the proposal at the full fee without a single word of pushback on the price.
Incredible.
In that moment, Richard realized he had spent years of his career and countless thousands of dollars paying off a predator that didn't exist. When he finally stopped paying the comfort tax and just let the supposed threat approach, there was nothing there.
And that is the core of the work.
Yeah.
It is not about learning stubborn negotiation tactics. It is about locating the deeply ingrained assumption that claiming your full value makes you dangerously exposed.
Yeah.
Somewhere in your past, your brain encoded the rule that asking for what you deserve puts your social standing at risk. Until you rewrite that specific root code, the backspace reflex will keep regenerating.
So the author, Maria Fuentes, actually pitches a commercial solution to this in her text. She runs something called the 10-day rewire experience, which she prices at £47.
Right.
It includes 8 levels and these performance labs where people rehearse these difficult conversations. Now, obviously, we aren't here to endorse or sell her specific product, but the underlying methodology she uses to build that course is scientifically sound. She is essentially employing clinical exposure therapy.
Exactly. The concept of a performance lab is about structured rehearsal. You have to put the body through the motions of stating a price and sitting in the subsequent silence over and over again.
Repetition is key.
You are manually teaching the nervous system that the silence on the other end of the phone is not a tiger waiting to pounce. It is just a client reading an email.
It's so true. She also points out that the calendar year offers a natural window for this kind of psychological maintenance. The text highlights July as the perfect time for a summer reset, which involves 4 one-to-one practices.
And the psychology of the business calendar plays a huge role here. In July, the diary naturally loosens,
Right? Everyone's the beach.
Stakeholders are on vacation, the evenings stretch out, and the immediate pressure of quarterly deadlines softens. It provides the necessary mental bandwidth to examine your own reflexes.
That makes total sense.
If you don't use that space to address the wiring, September will arrive with its usual avalanche of urgency, and you will simply default back to your defensive discounting habits because you won't have the energy to fight them.
Well, we have covered immense ground in this deep dive. I mean, from Nikola Tesla tearing up a fortune in a hotel room, all the way to Richard sweating over his keyboard in a modern firm, the pattern is just eerily consistent. Conceding value from a position of objective strength is a biological illusion.
It is a trick played on you by a defensive brain architecture that is terrified of social rejection. The objective evidence of your worth is already sitting there in the data. The gap isn't your capability. And it never was.
No.
The gap is your willingness to tolerate the chemical discomfort of standing on your worth when the alarm bells start ringing.
Wow. As we wrap up this exploration, we want to leave you with one final lingering thought to chew on as you face your own inbox this week.
Yeah, think about this.
Think about the proposals you are going to send, the rates you are going to quote, or the promotions you are going to ask for. Your brain is burning an incredible amount of neural energy working to protect you from the phantom threat of simply asking for what you objectively deserve. So, what would happen if you finally called its bluff?
If you stop negotiating against yourself today, who would you force the rest of the world to negotiate with tomorrow?
That's a great question to end on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to take a hard look at your own scent folder in the days ahead. Find your own discount lines. And when you feel that urge to shrink back at the moment of truth, maybe just let the silence sit there instead. Until next time.